If you stick to the end of this video, you're gonna see me take a real trade. See if you can see that. There we go. A real trade on Euro CAD, and hopefully you enjoy, hopefully you learned something. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so I'm here taking a look at Euro CAD, and this trade is not starting out too well. We are down $100 by the time we click the record button. That's never a good sign. But what we're going to do here is in this video, we're going to do some live trading. We're going to watch the trade start to finish to see if I can make any money or if I'm going to lose money here on this Euro Canadian short that I just entered on the just prior to going live here. So I actually went ahead and took this trade and I risked $400 here. So this is my broker, Oanda. I'm able to trade directly on TradingView, and I have a $400 stop loss just above this previous swing high. So you can actually see intraday we made this little high here today. If price breaks past that, that's going to be my exit point to go ahead and stop out of the trade. However, if we start making a move to the downside, I'm going to go ahead and try and trade with the trend here. You can see my little yellow lines here are kind of my loose targets for this trade. So we're sitting at resistance. We're in a downward structure overall. And also there's a number of factors that I wanted to go into as to why I took this short position. Now, I will get into that in just a second, but notice that we had a major green candle here today. So I can already hear some questions about like, Nick, why would you short right after a big green candle like that? Well, the reality is that even if we get a big green candle, it doesn't mean that we can't reverse it. For example, we had really strong green candles here and then fell back down in favor of the trend. So I'm looking at this big explosive move up as kind of a pop into a downward trend where I can look to get some better pricing on the short side. So yes, it is a bit of a risk, as all trading is, but I've got my stop loss in place, so I know how much I'm going to lose if I'm wrong about this, and I have potentially a lot of upside here to the downside. Now, I'm not putting any targets. You'll see I don't have any take profits on my trades. I just have ideas in mind as to where I'm going to look to trail my stop loss and lock in profit on the trade if the trade goes in my favor. Today's video sponsor is moomoo, and a big thank you to them for supporting the content. And with that said, let's take a look at their awesome platform, both for the phone view and for desktop. One thing that they have that I think is really revolutionary is the institutional tracking feature on their software. For example, we could take a look at Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's company, and see what they're holding. It's kind of a really cool feature to be able to just scroll through and see all the different stocks and holdings and what makes up Warren Buffett's portfolio in the institutional tracking software available with moomoo's application. So for example, you can see Warren Buffett's holding things like Apple, Bank of America, American Express, Coca-Cola, all sorts of cool companies, and you can kind of go through his portfolio as well as many other major groups like, for example, Soros Capital. You can go through here, see all the different holdings that they've got there. Another really cool feature that moomoo has is the AI monitor. Check this out. So we can actually scroll through and see what their artificial intelligence based software is scanning in terms of markets. You've got things like Twitter and Apple and Netflix in here, and looking at all sorts of different hot topics, hot names, and keeping up to date with what they're looking at. I want to encourage you guys to check out moomoo. Use the link down below in the description to get up to 5 free stocks, up to $3,500 worth of stocks for free. Again, use that link, check it out, and thank you to moomoo for supporting the content. So here's the A1 EdgeFinder. This is our software tool that we use to help find trade setups here at A1 Trading. We've been working really hard on this thing behind the scenes. The Euro CAD reading here is not completely finished. We are just finishing up all these metrics. There's a lot of development that goes into this platform, the A1 EdgeFinder, which by the way, there's a link down below in the description if you'd like to get access to this tool. But basically it just tells me a number of factors about a trade and a bias that I get for each currency pair that I'm looking at. You can see there's lots of different currency pairs available on the left-hand side. So anyways, I'm looking at Euro CAD. And it overall has a -5 reading, which is a strong sell reading. Now, if I look at the COT data, there's not too much that gets told here. We're pretty bank on even. So banks and institutions seem to be pretty split on the CAD and the Euro. Not a strong bias there from the Commitment of Traders report. However, if we look at a number of other factors, for example, the interest rate divergence here has a strong bias towards the Canadian dollar. And what this means is that, of course, each central bank offers a interest rate or a federal funds rate rate, depends what central bank you're talking about, but they have a central bank rate that they offer. And the higher that is, it usually is an attractive thing for the currency. So we look at the euro against the Canadian, we have the euro, which offers 0%, and Canada, which offers a 1% interest rate. So of course, that is going to attract some foreign investment, people wanting to buy the CAD. And so that's a positive sentiment for the CAD. So negative euro, positive CAD tells us a negative score or a lean towards shorting the euro CAD. Retail sentiment at the time of filming this, 74% of retail traders are long on this pair, while only 26% are short. So for me, wanting to go away from the crowd, because the crowd tends to be wrong, they tend to be losing traders, I'm going to go ahead and tend towards the minority in this case. Seasonality is the next one. So during the month of April, historically, the euro Canadian tends to decrease in value. So the euro goes down relative to a strengthening CAD. So that gives me a bias during this month to look more for shorts. So gets a -1 in the category. And finally, a -2 for trend reading, as we have a strong downward trend at the time of recording this. So all said and done, we're in the trade. I'm down 80 bucks. So I've entered here with 168,000 units, meaning 1.68 lots. And from here, the goal is to see if we can get a rollover effect at this level of resistance. So technically, I'm looking for a continuation of this downward trend. And if not, we'll stop out here for a $400 loss here. And potentially, if this thing makes a rollover effect, you know, we're looking at a couple $100 profit at least, with the potential of a continuation of the trend being the best possible outcome, where, you know, if we risk 400 and we end up making 1600, that would be incredible, right? Every once in a while it will happen. If you watch my channel long enough, you'll see I've had some trades that look amazing and some ones that look terrible, but you can see very strong downward trend. And a lot of times people will say, Nick, doesn't that thing look like it's ready to reverse? And sure, at some point it will, but for now, I'm just going with the trend. There were so many times where you could have said, this thing's ready to reverse, this thing's ready to reverse, this thing's kind of ready to reverse, but it was short-lived before the trend took over. So I'm just going with the trend here. I've got a good entry in my view. This is, you know, to me, to my strategy, this is very, very reasonable to go with the trend, pull back to levels of resistance, and put a stop above structure. I'm willing to take that trade all day long. And so for here, what I'll do is I'll just pause the video, give it a few hours to develop, and come back once things have moved a little bit. All right, guys, I am all out of the Euro CAD trade here. A couple hours later, you can see we did not get the rollover effect that I was looking for at this area. You can kind of see we actually continued higher, and I stopped out on this candle. So I'm out of the trade, took a $400 loss. So we can pop it up on the screen now. You can see I lost $400. And my goal with my channel is to show you guys the ups and downs of trading. When I film these videos, I start to finish, you know, it's a lot of work to film these. So whatever happens, happens. And this case happened to be a loser. So let's maybe do a little bit of a breakdown here. Maybe was there any mistakes that I made? Well, perhaps you could make the argument that, you know, the thing had already kind of made a breakout of this trend line. There's always kind of a bit of hindsight that you have to be careful with, because it's easy to say in hindsight, oh, well, obviously it was going to continue higher. This candle showed you rejection and it was ready to go higher. And of course, hindsight, that looks like a perfectly logical thing to say. But for me, from my trading plan, there's been many trades just like this where I take it and it does kind of look like it's bullish in the short term, but the dominant trend is still there and we find this thing rolling over. So of course, not every trade is going to work out. So I don't really regret my trade setup. I think it was perfectly logical. Again, I took this same area here. It sold off beautifully, made some money on that, and this time just did not work out. So just a little bit of context on this trade here, I think I made about $650, let's call it. And in this trade, I lost about $400. So between these two trades, I made 250 bucks. You can actually see my broker, both of these trades will be up on YouTube eventually, but I shorted there, covered in this candle, shorted here, covered in this candle. So overall out $250 between the two, but on this particular trade down $400. So is there a chance to re-enter? Possibly, but I'm probably gonna be a little bit patient on this one, look for another chance that makes sense before I try and jump into a whole bunch of shorts, but I still have a short bias on this one. It just seems like it didn't hold this level as well as I was hoping for on this retest. So again, this is the everyday ebbs and flows of trading. You're going to have trades that are winners. You're going to have trades that are losers. In this case, the trade just did not work out the way I was looking for it to. And again, that is what it is. So again, perhaps you have something different, and perhaps you think that there was something else that I should have thought about. Feel free to comment it down below. If you guys enjoy my trading videos and you enjoy the transparency, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Looks like it's time for your next trading video. Check out the videos here and here for more free trading content that should help you in your trading journey. We try and keep it real here, so make sure to subscribe for more content that is down to earth, realistic Forex trading content. See you in the next video.